just know that wherever you are in your lived experience of this life, this incarnation, what you're experiencing in your physical body, everything is temporary. The highs are temporary, the lows are temporary, and everything in between is impermanent. And the meaning that we create out of it is the experience that we're going to experience. It's a choose your own adventure story.
Hey there, Golden Ones. This episode of Drops of Gold is powered by One Golden Thread, the regenerative nature fashion brand that I created that we can all live in regenerosity. Enjoy the program, and we've got a special code for you later on to share. You are golden. We are all connected, better together as one golden thread.
Okay, here we grow. I am so honored to welcome to this episode of Drops of Gold a new, dear, new lifelong friend, Ronnie Landis. And I am so honored to welcome your wisdom into our community and into our consciousness, because there are those that talk about this notion around how do we take dis-ease into ease. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to read because this is just so powerful. His work de-armors, de-layers, deconstructs the accumulation of stress, trauma, tension, and recorded memory the body is stored over a lifetime, resulting in increased freedom, expansion, and liberation. Mm-hmm. Ronnie Landis, welcome to Drops of Gold.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's a pleasure and honor. Excited to be here with you, and excited for this lifelong friendship and allyship, potential partnerships in the mix. I'm so stoked on the clothing, the ethos, the mythos, like everything that you're up to. We just had you on my podcast. I'm excited to be on yours, and it's just an honor. So let's go.
For these concepts that are so powerful and almost difficult to grasp, how do we ground it and have it make sense in terms of an invitation that becomes this invocation of how do we live our lives to our fullest, highest vibrational truth?
Yeah.
Before we even dive into actually what you do, why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, first of all, I can't not.
Can't not?
No, I mean, I'm designed for what I do.
Yes.
And, I've been a martial artist my entire life since I was the age of 4. I had the original inspiration of Bruce Lee. Was actually the first conscious memory I have when I was 4 years old, watching Enter the Dragon. Yeah. And it's just one of those like milestone moments of my formative years, just like the surrogate role model that just came to me, and it triggered something. It elicited something that was in my DNA, I'm sure, from many lifetimes before. And it catalyzed this inspirational impulse that wasn't present in my parental and familial surroundings. But it activated this desire to embody myself and go into martial arts and become an athlete. Like that's in me. That's entrained in my nervous system. That's the foundation of my psychology, is being an athlete, being pursuit of excellence, discipline, pushing my limits, pushing myself, being very goal orientated, and so that transfers over into the work I do as 15-year holistic health practitioner, nutritionist, herbalist, all that kind of thing. But more specifically, the work I do now as a somatic physiotherapist with neuromuscular release therapy, literally digging people's trauma out of their body and helping them rewire and flesh out the traumatic imprints and the static electricity or information of life experiences that have accumulated and built up in their tissues. Your issues are in your tissues, as the saying goes. So I actually get to see firsthand how true that is, or the idea that the body keeps the score. It's a concept and idea for most people. For me, again, I get to see how real that is because I've been through it. So when you say, why do you do what you do? Well, I guess it's part of the alchemical riddle of my own life, because I've been through the trenches. I've been through the deepest downs. I've been through the highest ups, and I think it's a lot like that old, wherever this quote comes, is that the deeper the roots dig into hell, the higher the leaves climb up to heaven. I think that might have been a Carl Jung quote. And that's been my life in a lot of ways. So I get to actually, pay it forward through the therapeutic work I do. And I'm just passionate about seeing people not only heal, but grow, evolve, overcome trials and tribulations, express their most authentic, golden threaded self. Seeing that light turn on and that light bulb turn on in human beings. Like I'm here for that. That's who I am, and that's what I love to see in other people. It's what I love to catalyze.
I want to dive back into your journey to get here a bit more. But I also just want to make sure that this doesn't get lost, because it was fascinating when you said that you dive into people's traumas, you actually physically extract it. How important is it for them to meet you on that bridge in a state of allowance versus like they're just there,
right?
As opposed to them saying that, that I've surrendered to allow that extraction to occur.
Yeah. What's their part in the process?
Yes.
The client patient does have a part in the process. And one part is like literally just to surrender to the experience. So there's different sequences within the systematic approach that I'm working with in the neuromuscular work. So it would appear that I'm doing all the work. Like I'm the surgical technician. I'm doing all the techniques. I'm holding space for someone to unwind and uncork and for their emotional cathartic release. So one part of it is I'm actually holding space during and after I perform the technique. And then the other part is that the person has to comply. Right, because if they're resisting and they're fighting back, which luckily is not commonly the case, because this is a very specialized type of work. This is not like just bigger body work or massage. It's like an initiatic rites of passage. It very easily can become a shamanic experience for people. So there's a certain consciousness and a certain agreement field that somebody goes into this work. And I'm always kind of filtering and presencing with somebody about what this work entails and what to expect. But with that said, somebody has to be ready to have the release. And this was actually shown to me in a conversation with a channel, actually, which I won't go into a whole digression on that. But basically the spirit in the channel explained to me that the efficacy of somebody's release is based on what they're ready to release. So it's not dependent on me or the technique. That's just one element of it. It's actually what that person's soul is ready to release, which may or may not even be a fully conscious thing. But that's a huge part of it. They're consciously like, yes, I'm here for this. I'm ready to go all the way. And then whatever their soul is, wherever they're at, I think determines more of the energetic release, like the trauma, the cathartic release that sometimes people have when something's building up to the surface, and it's like this carrier wave of grief, sorrow, pain, anger, like agony that moves through. And then I'm like, then I'm here witnessing, holding it, helping them through it if necessary. And then I just get out of the way and I just let the energy move. And,
And this typically happens on a table over several hours?
Typically. Yeah. So it's typically like on a massage table. I'm very versatile. I can work on different environments. But typically on a table, like any kind of body work session. And the entire body takes about 4.5 to 5 hours, depending on the gross matter of somebody's body, if they're more muscular or not. And so that's broken down into 2 sessions typically. And so we'll do the first front and upper body on the first session. Then the second session will go into the hips, unlocking the entire hip complex, the legs, the back, the spine, the glutes, the whole thing. The entire body is completely addressed, even to the level of the optic nerves and the eyeballs. We literally get in and reset the physical eyeballs and decompress the optic nerves of the eyes, the sinus cavity, the jaw as a complex, which is a profound release sequence, the throat.
Oh, wow.
Oh, as you can see, it's actually very malleable in the throat box. The thyroid box works on a track. So it's essentially a piece of cartilage. And so it's like a chiropractic adjustment for the throat. So
I've never moved my throat
yeah, nobody
box
has.
around like
So
this.
this is really great for singers, vocalists, speakers.
What's happening?
And if you have a throat chakra like blockage, or you're just like, you haven't exercised that area.
For me, I had a throat chakra blockage for 51 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had walking pneumonia 3 times in 7 years.
Wow.
Always starting in my throat, dropping in my lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm receiving from you is it's not just about you expressing yourselves, but there's some physio
Yeah.
manipulation
Exactly.
that can get you there faster, or does the rubber band snap back? Maybe is the way to say it. If your brain state hasn't caught up.
Yeah.
If the monkey mind.
I see what you're saying. Like, does it rebound? Does it flip back? Yeah. Well, okay. That's a great question. I get that a lot. Like, how long does this last? Kind of question. And the simple answer is like, as long as you want it to. Technically, it's like going into an ayahuasca ceremony and having the most profound breakthrough. And I think a lot of people in our community, they misunderstand the breakthrough experience as the breakthrough. The experience of having this breakthrough, like breaking through something in the medicine ceremony, is not exactly the same as the living of the breakthrough. Like making the breakthrough in your life, non-induced, right? They're two different things. One is like this opening of a portal of possibility. The other is the integration, the embodiment of it. Very similar. This is like a medicine journey for a lot of people somatically, especially when you realize like your body is like this accumulated repository of recording life experiences, all the emotional impacts, all the repressions, all the unexpressed things, the sexual trauma, the abuse, the things that hit us from the divorce of our parents or whatever it may be, that we didn't have the cognitive function to actually process like an animal would in nature when they just neurogenically shake off like a predator chasing them. We didn't get a user's manual for how to decompress this system. So yeah, the integration piece is important, and what that looks like typically in this kind of thing is like movement practices, biomechanical movement, hanging on a pull-up bar, for example, so the shoulders and the neck stay elongated. Now, the work is so significant and the releases are so significant that it's not actually just going to shift back. What people will notice, because when I work on someone's shoulder as an example, that shoulder drops within a minute, at least an inch, if not more. Then the other shoulder is like this. It's this significant. And then so the brain, I'm mapping the brain. Now this is what normal felt like. Their brain is actually remapping what it's supposed to be. Then we do this, and now so the body now relaxes into position, and now it becomes uncomfortable when the unconscious holding patterns start to try to remanifest. It now is uncomfortable. So if someone's on their phone and they're like, it almost pulls them back. Now, if somebody decides to stay unconscious, the body will reflect that eventually. But if they decide to take advantage of this and reintegrate a new template and potentially purchase some of your clothing, because that also has an effect on their posture and their vibration literally, and they do the things in their life to embody the version of them that they're now experiencing, then that's where the magic is.
What's coming up for me is not everybody's going to have access to you or you.
Exactly.
And so how do we receive? How do we share? in such a way. Like, for instance, could you take our listeners through right now?
Absolutely.
Through a practice, and you can maybe even define the amount of time. Are we talking about 3 minutes and 30 seconds? Are we talking
Totally.
about, whatever the case might be? But take us through something, and I'd like to receive it as well in this moment where I can I can receive and self-coach and self-access myself to that point. Like, for instance, even what you just said, like the consciousness around my shoulders, I know I carry my shoulders high. I know it. And when somebody touches my shoulders, like, oh, I got it, drop it. So would that be something you'd like to do right now?
No, totally. It's a little difficult to like do a self-administration process because it does take some technical skill.
Got it.
One thing that's coming up for me though that comes up a lot in conversations but gets missed is actually the power of breath, and you can utilize breath in a lot of different ways. So I do something that I call a quantum collapse process. This is what I did before I did somatic physiotherapy. I would take clients through this process of using their breath. So for example, I take one hand, put over my solar plexus, take the other hand, put over my heart, and I'll guide someone to belly breath right at their solar plexus and then breathe up to their heart. So now they're filling their heart, and your heart is extending forward. So your shoulders will actually come into alignment as your heart comes out. And so now we're fully engaging the full body, and we're dropping the shoulders, but not consciously. A lot of people, they fidget with their shoulders. If you push your heart out, the shoulders just relax into position. And it helps somebody's heart open. So now we're just breathing. So we're literally opening the vascular system of the heart. And this can be a very emotional experience too. So that's good. Now, if somebody is feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, research shows if you do this kind of breathing exercise 6 times consecutively, I would say let's do it 10. Your heart rate variability will balance, blood pressure will balance, and that agitation or angst will start to subside. So this is repatterning that addictive loop to stress and drama and stimulation that all of us have been entrained and trained with as a byproduct of this, this world and this environment that we live in. And it's just important to know that nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not incomplete. There's nothing to fix. We have been put into an aberrant situation in this reality matrix that is not of our fault and it's not of our choosing, but it is our noble responsibility to grow and evolve through the pressure of the particular reality of the time that we live in. And these are tools to help us regulate and center and just remind ourselves who and what we are, which is so far beyond the temporal form. But it's not gaslighting ourselves into like, oh, well, then the body is important. It's actually doubly, triply important that we get so embodied and anchored with this physical body, because it is the vehicle that we were given as a non-corporeal, non-physical soul, as like the avatar. It's literally our avatar that has its own unique design features and instructions. And so that's actually what I'm trying to get at with people, is that this is an opportunity to discover how your avatar is designed. And if we can start to unhook the compressions and contractions and release some of that trauma, that misinformation, maladaptive reactionary patterns to just cope with life, we can start to actually experience what this thing is designed to do. then life gets golden, life gets fun, it's not heavy anymore. Even though, yeah, there's shit going on all the damn time. I'm navigating situations all the time, but my athletic nature comes out. It's like the more intense the game gets, it's like, oh, I could back away, but this is getting, oh man, it's getting real close. It pushes my performance if I lean into it. But if I get stressed and down on myself and like I give up, it's like, you know, we don't want to be in this place of like, well, why play the game? I want to be in this place of like, yo, I'm in the game, and it's a finite game. It's a finite game. There is a expiration. But while I'm here, I want to play the game to its fullest, and I need to be in a fully functional body to do that.
Oh. What is this vessel intended to be? You said to get out of our way for this vessel to intended to be what it's intended to be. What does it look like when that looks like what it's intended to be?
It looks like... That's a great question, because I don't think we have a lot of references for what the potentiality actually is. Like, the body is a free energy generating device. And, you know, we have these like abstract examples of different yogis and mystics, like, you know, Babaji or whoever that lived to 160, or, you know, this Taoist master who lived to 260 drinking goji berry juice and gynostemma or whatever. And, you know, and I believe a lot of that, but that's not really a relevant model. You know, and then you have the other, like, just go on this quick little riff. You have the other, like, biohacking, super technocentric, technology is going to save us and advance us into whatever, which to me is a lot of, actually, it's like an anti-death cult in a lot of ways. It's like just death phobia. Like, just take all these supplements and just all these external things and just push the life extension out as much as you can. And I don't... You know, to each their own, choose your own adventure. To me, I think there's something else. If we ascend, we go deep within. I think what actually heals, repairs, and renews the physical body is the manifestation of the soul, meaning the more space there is for the soul to inhabit the physical body, it just turns everything on. Call that consciousness, if you will. That's what I think actually runs the ship. I don't think it's just mitochondrial functions and chemical reactions and nerve impulses. Those are all parts of the hardware and software. But what actually runs the ship? Because there are people that appear to be healthier than a lot of healthy people that don't live very healthy from a food and nutrition and lifestyle standpoint. But they have beautiful relationships. They care about their family. Just normal, quote unquote, people that we would say are like anomalies. There's something else there. So, I mean, I don't know how I got on that track, but
that's a beautiful track. I mean, you know, I asked you, what does it mean for the vessel to be basically like in its fullest, highest vibrational activity? And I think what I'm just receiving from that is it's when you are surrendered and your spirit, however you want to describe that, is literally like tingling at your toes and your fingertips and your you know, it basically is like, you know, crown to feet and everything in between.
I feel super alive in these one golden thread clothes. As an example, you know, there's many things that make me feel that way. But like, that's as an example, and it's relevant that we're talking kind of the somatic response, the embodiment of being in your body, feeling the subtleties and nuances of your body, right? Like, even what I'm doing with my hands, this is a very nuanced thing. There's life, there's like tingling. It's like, ooh, freedom, liberation, expansion. Like that, these common terms in marketing and personal development, spiritual hoo-ha, do this program or that program, you're going to get this expansion, this liberation, and you know, like, you know, there's truth to that. But I'm talking about like at the subtle levels of me just moving my body,
Yeah.
the mannerisms, like when I wear these clothes, there's an enhancement of that. Like the Tai Chi. Like I feel like I'm in a Wu Wei Tai Chi
Yeah.
as an example. And there's so it's like whatever floats your boat, whatever choose your own adventure, whatever makes you authentically feel like you, keep going towards that.
My friends, Ronnie just said it better than I could say it. This is about somatics. This is about coming back into concert with the fact that our body is our largest organ, and to come back into coherence by feeling good, and then looking good, and then doing good. Now, you know the drill. One Golden Thread is the regenerative nature fashion brand that invites us back into coherence with our human nature. First time code for you at checkout. Drops of Gold at checkout for 22% off. So we talk about health, and health is often seen as an individual journey. You describe it as a collective destiny.
Totally.
And I thought that was fascinating. I'd love to have you elaborate on how individual well-being contributes to planetary well-being.
It's almost so obvious, and yet it's so big. Right, but what's obvious is oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Symbiosis. Mm-hmm. There's an interwoven, interthreaded interconnectivity between all things, all beings, all sentient organic life. Nothing is held in a vacuum. Nothing is held within separation. And as you say, that's the greatest lie ever told, the idea of separation. And the original wounding or the original sin, whatever you want to think of it, is actually the wound of separation from the Creator, from the Father, from the Mother, from the dislocation from the innate intelligence of creation. Right, and this doesn't have to be like a super out there concept. I just want to return people back to that kind of language to tap into something that exists beyond their physical senses. That I think we're all in this day and age, this crisis of meaning, that's creating a catalyst to discover what is actually meaningful, and that is always the impetus for greater fulfillment, enrichment, and spiritual growth. So it's all perfect for sure, even though it's not necessarily preferable or comfortable all the time. But to directly answer your question, one thing leads to another in our own life. So what we do moment to moment matters. And there's a bigger picture and there's a bigger impact that it creates. There's a ripple of impact that reverberates out to other people in our life based on how we feel, right? And it's granular, so you don't notice the effects every moment. But if you look over the course of a year, 2 years, or 3 years of someone's eating habits, someone's exercise habits, someone's thought and emotional habits, when they look in the mirror a year to 5 years later, then it's dramatic, it's drastic, but you don't notice it every day, right? So it's a gradual thing, and I think that's the thing we need to be aware of. We need to be mindful of that phenomenon. And at the collective level, it's like the noosphere, the collective psyche that Carl Jung would talk about. Our brains are like radio receivers. We're receiving the radio station of whatever flavor of consciousness that we're tuning into. That's affecting us, and our attention on that is affecting the whole. By our thoughts, our words, our actions, and again, that ripple of impact that reverberates out.
That's super empowering. We know that, and we know we're in a container that something feels like a frictionless flow, and it feels like we're being lifted by another, and then we know what it feels like to be in a room where there's anchors, and it's just like wow, there's something going on here. So I appreciate this notion around that it's not just about doing it for yourself or doing it for another, but there's like a broader thing here that just happens when it does become the rising tides that lift all ships.
Yes.
And that leads to something that I'm super fascinated to dive into, which is another modality that you're diving into, which is, well, I'll just do the acronym and you could take us on a journey, which is QBM.
Mm.
You know, at its freckle of a tiny thumb that I understand of what this is, and I'm looking forward to learning more and by somebody with mastery in this. But it's our body's innate nature to heal itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Take us into what it is and ground it and make it accessible,
Yeah.
and how do we, access that as another modality of how do we live our best selves to go from dis-ease to ease.
Mm. Beautiful. This is a good golden thread to weave us together. So QBM is quantum body mechanics. That's the brand that I created around my physiotherapy work. And so the quantum phenomenon, meaning the mechanics are the techniques and the mechanics of the body. So we're returning somebody mechanic, like working on an organic vehicle, right? That's the mechanical part. But then the quantum aspect is the energetic vibrational dissolution of distortions that have been, like frequency distortions that have been blocking up and chalking up somebody's antenna, essentially. And that's a very interesting concept that a lot of like people in body work don't really talk about, is that your body has like vibrational distortions, which we call trauma. Let's just call it that. So it'll create like distortion or an overlay that creates like a filter to how you perceive and how you experience life. Like when you're in a relationship or you have those moments where you just have like an energetic tripwire, and then you're so convinced that this is what's happening, and then they're convinced that this is what's happening, and then later on when you clear it, you realize, oh, none of that was actually happening. That was just like some weird distorted filter that I had where it literally manifested itself in a perfect way based on something inside of me that hadn't been completely resolved. So that's the quantum aspect, is like once that gets dissolved and released, then the vibrational attunement, the organic attunement of somebody's vibration comes back into coherence. And so merging those kind of the physical and the metaphysical concepts together, that's how that came to be. It was just basically me witnessing what's happening. It's not like I'm going for this. I'm just witnessing what keeps happening, and then I'm trying to create some frameworks around it.
Wow. I mean, this, you talk about merging, and it's a fascinating thing when we can talk about how we bring the physical into the metaphysical and the somatic into the emotional. And what would you like to share to ground in your modality and a beautiful parting thought as you hand the baton?
Just know that wherever you are in your lived experience of this life, this incarnation, what you're experiencing in your physical body, everything is temporary. The highs are temporary, the lows are temporary, and everything in between is impermanent. And that's not meant to be good, bad, or anything. It just is what it is. And the meaning that we create out of it is the experience that we're going to experience. And that's in the chemical byproduct of the experience: stress, ecstasis, fulfillment, happiness, sorrow. The more prolonged states that we exist in, the physical body will adhere and attune to that chemically, and it will record that as memory. And then because it's recorded memory, it will respond, because that's the information that's being inputted. It's like, okay, that's the information I'm getting. That must be reality. That must be what it is. And so it's a choose your own adventure story. And I do believe in right and wrong. I do believe there is something called good and evil. But I think without going into that particular track, I think these are forces. I think just like darkness and light, they're elemental forces. You know, we have all kinds of stories and hoo-ha around all this, which is a whole other podcast in of itself. But your physical body is indifferent. The biology of your body is indifferent. The meaning simply has a chemical effect that affects your stress response, that affects your immune system, that affects your hormones, that affects your neurochemistry, that affects your ability to thrive in this world. So it's a choose your own adventure story, choose wisely, and have the best day ever if you choose.
If you choose. I mean, honestly, that right there, if you choose, or as you choose, is the golden mic drop. So before we hand the baton off, what I invite my co-spirator to do is, because this podcast is called Drops of Gold, is what is the sound of the golden mic drop? What is the sound?
Like the actual sound?
Yeah. Thank you for being on Drops of Gold.
Yeah, brother. Thank you.
I'm so excited, and you get to introduce the beauty of the power, of the potency of where we're going, moving from the physical to the emotional. Thank you for joining us on Drops of Gold. We trust you found listening as delightful as we found creating. Now, let me tell you, it takes a village to nourish a dream. Big shout outs to One Golden Thread for powering the pod, to co-producers Mark Shapiro, Josh Robertson, and Victory for bringing it all to life. And special thanks to artist Taib for featuring his electrifying new track, Departures. And infinite love to you for your curiosity and commitment to living in your highest vibrational truth. Aho, here we grow. We are all designed to be reminded we are already golden inside. I'm Jeff Scult, wishing you a radically yes fuck yes day. Ashe.